Hey guys, what's up? Mike here. With the video that's been long overdue, finally. Especially because today is Tuesday, I believe March 20th, and tomorrow is the 21st, and actually Batman comes out, Batman number 7, I believe. So I'm gonna be actually getting my Batman review, which I've been putting off forever. It's because I was gonna do it last week, but I got really busy. But I'm gonna do it now, 4, 5, and 6 in one go, and then I'm gonna do 7 tomorrow when it comes out. Um, Maybe after the there's a signing event for Spider-Man. I don't know. So a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna be doing 5. Spider-Man number 5. Here's 4. I'm a mistake. 4. Here's 5. And here's 6. Something really interesting actually about 5. I have the normal cover. There's actually, if you got it polybagged with the online digital code to for a download, the cover is actually a different color. It's the same cover art wise, but it's just a different color. I think it's a little darker and bluer. Um, but I'm gonna start off with issue 4. So issue 3, Batman issue 3 right here, ends with Batman getting blown up. He's researching the Court of Owls. He gets out. He's in the most recent one, and they're all located in buildings his family has built, not his fam. The Waynes have built. And oh, and he sort of escapes. You know, he he escapes and explains that this bomb that went off is not meant to kill him. It's meant to instill fear in him. So he gets back to the cave, and you see Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and he's talking to Alfred about how Bruce is resting. This is the end of the world. Bruce Wayne, Batman never rests. He always works no matter what. And Alfred explains, Dick sort of assumes, and he's like, "How much did you slip him?" And Alfred says, he drugged Bruce. Um, so they he drugs Bruce to try to keep him asleep, but it doesn't really last that long. And Bruce gets up and he continues his investigation, and you see him analyzing bones. The bones belong to his ancestor, his great great grandfather Alan Wayne, the man who created Gotham skyline. If you read Gates of Gotham, Scott Snyder goes into that backstory a little bit. So Dick explains, maybe you're going about this the wrong way. It's he's almost gotten killed twice, and Dick has fought in the first issue of Nightwing slash second issue of Nightwing, an assassin called Talon, the same assassin that, um, um, you know, it's all tied together. And maybe this is something Dick and Dick tries to say maybe there's this Quarter Owls thing is real. Maybe you should be worried. And Bruce explains, he it's not real because he actually personally searched into it before he was Batman when he was a child. After his parents were killed, he did a whole bunch of research looking into it, and he saw there in the nursery rhyme there are symbols and omens, and his family actually got one with an owl nesting in their attic. So Bruce continues going out the city looking for the clues, and he finds a social building, um, a club where he thinks is the club. So he goes to the place. It's an abandoned house. Goes into the attic, and it's just dust. It's nothing there, and he he gets trapped in there for a week, and he's just a kid, so he's done. He's done, and Alfred finds him. And Bruce learned something about being a detective. You never let your emotions sort of drive you. So Dick sort of explains, no one knows Gotham better than Batman. It's his city, but at the same time, Gotham has been around for 400 years. For 400 years. So, just because he's there now doesn't mean something else wasn't there before. So Bruce decides to follow up on the lead. He finds out that his great grandfather, on his bones, there was a this residue, and the residue was marble, which is weird because if you read the first issue, you see his great grandfather fall into the sewer system, and Gotham sewer system, he explains, is not made from marble; it's made of granite. So he's exploring the area, and he gets ambushed by this dude Talon, gets his head driven through a wall, gets his belt taken, and when he wakes up, He's in the middle of a labyrinth, and the Court of Owls has essentially trapped Batman. So this issue, um, most of you have probably read it. If you do read Batman, if you don't, it's actually really good. Not as exciting as issue 3 was. 3 was a lot more. I guess there's a little more action and with things like that. But Scott Snyder, this is just setting pace. He's known for his long arcs. If you've read his other stuff, his Detective Comics run, American Vampire. If you're reading Swamp Thing, like Swamp Thing doesn't turn Alan Holland doesn't turn to Swamp Thing until issue 6 or 7. I don't remember, 6 I believe. So yeah, he's known for these long arcs, but in regards to being long, the issues stay solid. They stay very strong with a lot of backstory. It's really rich in story and like character development, things like that. So issue 4 does a great job with the character development, with this whole building of Bruce Wayne. Something on my otherwise, not much else to say about the issue. Art is solid. Does a great job on the artwork. I sort of prefer yeah. So story wise, Snyder does a great job. Art wise, Greg Capullo, who and Jonathan Glapion, who does the inking and the coloring, I believe. Or Greg does inking and the sketch, the drawing. Um, they do a great job. They actually are, I guess, Greg Capullo is one of the guys in comics right now who does the square jaw very well. Not many people do it really not well. Do it well. It's a hard. It's very hard. I mean, I guess everyone knows the Justice League Unlimited slash Batman anime series, the Superman anime series. You know that square jaw look. It's very super heroic, and some comic book artists try to do it. They don't really get it down well because they make their bodies too muscular. And Greg Capullo does a great job. Just in general with all his artwork of all the characters, they look very good. Otherwise, not much to say about book 4. Book 4 was good. I'm actually gonna give it I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5. Cause just there's not too much action. It's a lot more mystery-ish. So if you're looking for an action book, um, for really like Batman, if you're gonna not, I guess you're gonna be a little disappointed because there's not a lot of action. It's more mystery. It's more you have to be able to get into a story, really get into a story. Um, but yeah, 4 out of 5. It's really good if you're into the mystery, if you're into reading and just stories and like this world that Scott Snyder and Jonathan Glapion and Greg Capullo and are building in Batman. So issue 5 starts off with you see Jim Gordon and Harvey Bullock. They're on top of the Gotham Police Department building. Bat signals on, and Harvey tells him, he's gonna be dead soon, and he means the bat signal. He's been running him all week, just lighting it up, and they're just gonna leave it on. And Gordon explains this isn't for just them. Batman's not showing up. It's been 8 days apparently. He's been missing, and Gordon's like, it's not for us. It's not for him. It's for everyone else, all his allies. They show all his allies. And something I don't get, sort of is weird. They show Nightwing. They show Robin. They don't show Red Robin, Tim Drake, which is weird. Maybe one of the panels was supposed to be Tim Drake, and Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder sort of missed it. Or maybe, well, apparently, Red Robin's on the outs with Bruce Wayne, and that's gonna be addressed in Detective Comics. Not Detective Comics. I think Batman and Robin. All the Robins are gonna get together, and there's gonna be an epic beatdown. But yeah, you see Batgirl, Catwoman, Alfred, Batwing. So they leave it on. This is the light. The light is to show that criminals that regardless of Batman not being around, Gotham isn't theirs. And then we move. This book is really, actually, it's really really crazy. I don't know if you guys have read it, if you guys have seen it. You might have read other reviews online. This is a book that you had to read for yourself to understand. So it starts off with Bruce. He's in the labyrinth as in issue 4 ended, and he is it is just creepy. He's like, I had to stay in the dark. I'm not gonna come out. This is it's safe in the dark. No one can find me in the dark because I'm Batman and the dark is my friend. And he's safe from the owls. Well, apparently he's been here for 8 days. He's tripping balls. He ends up at a fountain of a owl and a giant owl, and it's like spitting water out. It's a fountain, and he always ends up here somehow in the maze, regardless of which way he goes. So he goes and he knows he shouldn't drink the water, but he's thirsty. He has to drink, so he drinks some and decides to, and then he runs off into the darkness. He's like, you know what? And then he starts just tripping balls even more. He's just like, owls hear everything because they have the ears, they they have asymmetrical ears because one's higher than the other, so it can locate its prey. And the way they watch, they just stare at them and stuff. So he has no way to get out, no rope, no utility belt. So he's gonna stay in the dark because the dark's his friend. And he continues to wander, and he ends up in this portrait room that's filled with portraits. And he sees that these portraits are people who have probably been by killed in the maze. Like there are hundreds of portraits. And he looked into one and refuses to be a portrait. He refuses to be one of those guys, just a face on the wall. No, when these guys are terrorizing his city. So he decides to run back into the dark. And he's still tripping. He thinks he sees people, and he just crashes through into the light, and he's just trying to get out. And and he gets it. Scott Snyder does a great job. Bruce is just paranoid. He's freaking out. No, this is a sort of different from the Bruce Wayne that everyone knows, calm and collected, because there's so much going through his head. He's probably drugged. He hasn't eaten in days. He hasn't probably slept in days. He's just been walking around for 8 days. Um, and he tells them, he invented all the tricks. Nothing can, they can't be him because sooner or later he's gonna find them, and they can't hide because he lives in the dark. And then something interesting happens. So you normally read a comic book this way, right? In America, we left to right. Well, for those who haven't seen this book, it actually starts changing the page orientation, and you read it like this, and then eventually you turn it upside down like this, and then you go back to normal. But which was really, really interesting. A lot of people thought it was a print error, um, but actually this was, and it sort of wasn't intended to go this way. Scott Snyder actually talked about it during a book club he had in Midtown Comics. Because he and Greg Capullo get their comics in PDF form before they get the actual books. It just reads straight down. So when they got their books, they saw that it turned, and they didn't really intend for it to turn out that way, I guess. But that's the way it ended up, and actually did a really great job of getting this point across. It's just how trippy this book got. So Bruce eventually ends up in a model of Gotham City, and surrounded our walls, probably with names. Some of the names you may recognize, some you don't. There's Gordon, Cobblepot, couple of names, and he thinks they're either people who were once part of the club or killed by the Court of Owls. And then he continues walking, and he ends up in this room filled with like coffins, I guess, and each coffin has a picture of a person on it, a kid. And guess their generation, and he assumes they're generations of just people the Court of Owls has been manipulating. And then he opens one, and one is missing. And he's like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm gonna keep going. He keeps going. He sees more owl like shaped shit, and he starts just punching it in the face. Somehow he ends up back in the portrait room. He continues walking, and he sees his parents, or what he assumes to be his parents. And then the book gets upside down, and then you read it from right to left. And they're not his parents. He's just tripping. He's still tripping balls. He gets attacked. Like owls come out of his parents' mouth. They start attacking him, and he wakes up in front of the owl statue, and he feels like they're changing. Like he's just like, if you read the panels, it looks like he's changing into an owl. That he's no longer Batman. That he's becoming one of them just by them affecting him like this. And he refuses to allow them to get the upper hand, and he finds a panel and he removes it, and he's like, I beat you, I am awesome. He goes through the hole, ends up in the portrait room, and he sees his portrait on the wall and refuses to be that. And then he gets stabbed in the back. And the issue ends with the bat signal actually blowing up. Ooh, spooky. And Robin shows up and tells them to get a new one. You know, in typical Robin fashion, now he demands it, but then he adds a please at the end. Just because this is his father who's missing, and that's where the issue ends. Um, so all in all, not really a lot of action wise until the end of the book. It's more like just trippy. What the hell? This isn't really the Bruce Wayne people know. And this book, Batman issue 5, is actually probably the best issue of Batman like I have read in a long time. It's probably the best issue. It probably will be the best issue of this run. I feel. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how they can top this, especially with the weird turning thing. That was pretty cool. I mean, even though it was unintended, it was pretty cool. Story wise, just this they take Bruce, take him out of his comfort zone, put him in the situation where Batman's all about planning, having a plan, composure, never letting anything surprise him, and putting him in the situation where he's out of his comfort zone. He's alone, without his gadgets, without a plan, essentially being hunted. He's tired. He doesn't. It's been 8 days. He's hungry. He's just tripping out. And the way they do it, the way they explain it, and throughout the issue, it slowly shows that he's sort of turning into an owl. In some of the, while he's clawing at things. So it's sort of symbolizing, he's no longer Batman, which I guess is part of the reason why this issue is so good. He doesn't really resemble the Batman that we all know. Um, so story-wise, great story, and there's so much detail into it. That Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo have put into this book, especially with just not only the with the story, but just the environment. This maze is so detailed. There's so much like you can miss just by glancing, and then you like, and just the hundreds of coffins is just like a prelude to like disaster for just like Batman and his allies. Um, Art-wise, Greg does a great job. He draws this tattered Batman. He has 5 o'clock shadows, beard, bloodshot eyes. He's bleeding. He's just freaking out. He does a great job. Tattered, his entire uniform just tattered. He's just done. Like, he is no longer Batman. In I guess essence, as I said before. But yeah, great job. This issue actually gets a 5 out of 5. Great book, unbelievable book. So coming off the high though with issue 5, issue 6. Issue 6 is actually pretty good. So it starts off with Bruce getting stabbed in the back by the assassin Talon, and you know, and she tells him, you should be happy that your body is gonna stay here forever. You're gonna be, um, because they're gonna put his bones up in as on display as to honor what a great enemy he was. It's like only 3 people have been like honored this way. You should feel wonderful. So Bruce is getting stabbed, and he's sort of still trippy and out of it, and he's just getting his ass whooped. He's about to die, and you see all the court of owls. I assume the court of owls, and Bruce is sort of still trippy, so he sees them as actual owls, like owl people. But when you actually see them, there's people in masks, and they decide to let the littlest one, a young child who is part of the court of owls, decide his fate, and she wants him the talent to break or hurt him more. So the court keeps calling for more and more, and this guy just starts beating up on him. And the owls, they come down, the court of owls, they come down to sort of take their piece to the Batman, and he's willing to let them do it. He has no strength. Just let them take him. Just he's willing to die. But then he sees something, a portrait right next to him. It's a picture of Alan Wayne, his great great grandfather, and this picture is just this picture just says so much. It's Alan Wayne. He's tired, he's scared, and there's tears on his eyes, and he's just begging for someone to come save him. And Bruce starts crying, which you don't really see. You don't see Bruce Wayne cry. He's Batman. Batman doesn't cry. See Batman cry, and he's like, you know what? Someone has to stop them. And if it's not him, who else is gonna be? There's no one that can do it. So you see him throw these people off, and Capullo does it in a great way, where Batman is like becomes like this giant like dude right there, and he's just these little owls on him. He's like Godzilla status, and all the owls run off. And Talon is like, you know what? I'm gonna break you. And he's like, look at you gnashing your fangs. You know what owls do to their prey. And Bruce explains, I'm tired of owls. Like I'm tired of hearing about owls or just thinking about them. And he just whoops up on this dude. They start fighting each other, beating the shit out of each other. A lot of just fighting. Capullo does a great job of. It's not really just panels of them swinging. There's a lot of throwing. There's a lot of walls being broken, just like gritty grappling, which Capullo does a great job of. And Bruce, he finally musters up some strength. He's like, "You're a common criminal. You're not special. No matter what these people tell you, you're just trash." And he whoops up on this dude, and they end up back at the fountain. And Bruce explains, you know what? You think you know everything, but Batman got them in his city, and he knows where they are. They're near the river because the water he's been drinking has a minerally taste that is only found in the river, and that the fountain is not made from the same construction marble that made of. It's softer marble. So he knows that it's soft. I could blow it up. He actually stole the filament from the old school camera that was up in the maze, blows it up, and he tells them he's gonna be back. I'm gonna come back. Don't get comfortable. I'm gonna come back here for you. So he's like, he gets out. He falls into the river and sort of tries to swim, and he ends up like under some ice or what appears to be ice, and he thinks he can't break through it or the glass or whatever it is, and he sort of sinks. So you don't know what happened. And then you see I guess is the leader of the Court of Owls, an old woman in a wheelchair, and they decide what to do now. They're gonna go after Batman, but what do they do with their fallen warrior? And they're like, he's a great investment. They should just let him heal. She's like, you know what? Fuck it. Dispose of him. We got hundreds more of them, and you see all the coffins lined up, and we see that these warriors are sort of in a hibernation, and I assume that they are gonna awaken them, and that's where the issue ends. So Batman number 6 is, if you've been waiting for some violence and some Batman beatdown of like villains like since like the last time he's done it, Batman 6 is what you've been waiting for. No, it starts off with Batman losing. This guy is healthy. He's you know he's prepared to fight. He's armed to the teeth with knives and stuff. And then you got Batman half dead. Pretty much he's given up. And Scott Snyder does a great job of they've broken Bruce's mind and body, and he's about to throw in the towel. I'm done. Like, what? I fought the good fight, but just I will let them take me, do what they will. And then he sees his grandfather's face, his great great grandfather, and he says, what? And this like sort of invigorates him. It's like someone needs to stop them, because like space is trying is like conveyed through time. You have to be the one to stop him, which is what I sort of got from it. His grandfather conveying through time through that photo. He said, what, someone has to stop them. And he saw that connection between the two of them. Um, so yeah, great job. My one deal with the issues, not story wise, is art wise. It gets a little dark. Um, More so than normal, and fight scenes get a little gritty. It's good. It's a lot. There's not much actual fighting in terms of punching the lines. Greg Capullo does a good job of displaying the fighting, but it gets really dark. There's a lot of walls and environment in this fight. So it throws off the motions, I guess. And just the way the panels are lined up, because they don't use conventional panels in all of them. Sometimes the panels get skewed and um, misshapen just to convey a point. So it's a little hard to follow sometimes. But otherwise, it's a great issue. Its cover is just freaky as hell. But art wise, solid art. Nothing much has changed. Greg Capullo, his art style is based. He has his art style, and he's not gonna change it. It's gotten a lot cleaner. In terms of the foundation of how Batman looks. Some people start off a little sloppy, and their characters get a little bit more defined as we go on. Sort of, and their art style grows and changes a little bit. An example of that is Mark Bagley and Ultimate Spider-Man. If you compare, if you've read Ultimate Spider-Man or if you've watched one of my Ultimate Spider-Man reviews, you can look at the art style of Ultimate Spider-Man from issue 1 and then Ultimate Spider-Man, the last issue, or one of the more recent Mark Bagley issues. Art style is actually really, really different. There's not, it's a lot brighter. Um, it's just faces. It's a lot more cartoony, I guess, but still has that Mark Bagley style, like you can tell it's him. But anyway, Greg Capullo does a great job. Um, yeah, this book is actually really good. Of all the DC books, Batman's probably the best one, followed by Flash. What else is good? Swamp Thing's pretty good. I don't really buy Swamp. I read Swamp Thing. I don't buy it, but Swamp Thing's been good. I hear Animal Man's been pretty crazy. But yeah, I like the way DC's action books aren't really that great, but their more horror dark line is really good, and you should give it a chance to read. These other books by these great writers that not many probably don't know about because they're writing such obscure heroes that no one really care about in terms of not Batman, but in terms of the other books. So give a chance, check out the books. So this book is actually Batman 4/6 is gonna get a 4/5. Not much else to say. Batman 7 comes out tomorrow. I'm gonna be doing a couple more reviews before. I'm gonna upload a couple more videos tonight. This video is really long, but I'll talk to you guys later. See, comment, review, the drill. And have a great week. Enjoy our books you're reading.